Hey friends, Inquisitor Worm here today with a video talking about I can't talk, sorry, Datto's video on Across video. We got some videoception going on here, but I wanted to basically talk about Datto's video because a user or a sub over here on the channel, actually by the name of Inquisitor Snow, hence where I got my name from, asked me to do this, so we're gonna do it. I watched Datto's video when it came out, but earlier today I watched it again and I actually took some notes on it, okay? And I've got those pulled up right here on the old phone because, of course, we're not going to play Datto's video in the background and watch it. That's going to be too long. But I did want to offer some of the thoughts that I had on Datto's video and just kind of give my opinions and thoughts on that, I guess. So before we get started, it is very well known in the Destiny community that Datto takes a very analytical and realist approach to his thoughts, right? He doesn't sugarcoat it. He gives it just like it is. You know, he puts it out there like, hey, Bungie's doing this to make money, blah, blah, blah. They don't care about your feelings. Like, he's very blunt to the point. Props to him because that's fantastic. I think that a lot of creators out there are currently mixing, I guess, their feelings in with, you know, their opinions, right? Datto, you know, he says Bungie has the microtransaction store because people pay money for it. He says it exactly factually like it is, while other people, you know, they have their own twist on it and stuff like that. So I did just want to make that very clear here. And I'm going to be constantly looking down at my phone here to read the notes I took, but I just wanted to get that out there before anything else goes on. The second thing, of course, as Datto said in his video, how things work does not mean that he necessarily agrees with it. Same here. How things work does not necessarily mean I agree with it. He talks again about hard fact. The fact is Bungie keeps making content for the Eververse store, for example, because players keep paying for it, right? Doesn't mean that any one of us agrees with it, but that is a fact. How things work doesn't mean we all agree with it. But let's start by the first section of the video here, and he talks about the latest content basically becoming the new standard for Destiny 2, right? And this is, again, there's a lot more nuance around it and behind it and stuff like that. I did not take every single point he made because a lot of it we just agree on and just be like, yeah, I agree with that, sure. But I wanted to point out the things that he mentions that are very prominent, I guess. And of course, he's exactly right here. The Destiny community has a tendency to take whatever Bungie gives us, and that becomes the new norm. And the issue specifically he brings up is Prophecy Dungeon. Before Prophecy, we had the Shattered Throne. We had, what's the one on the moon? I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but a Pit of Heresy. We had Shattered Throne, we had Pit of Heresy. Then Prophecy comes along, and Prophecy is a free-to-play dungeon. So when Prophecy launched, and it was free, that became the new standard for Destiny. That's what everybody expected Destiny to have going forward is, hey, you know what? We've got, you know, a new dungeon. It's going to be free, blah, blah, blah. And that was basically Bungie's way of biting their own ass, for lack of a better terms. You know, Bungie, they did this and they made it free. They, you know, but now they're having to, they have to deal with the consequences of, well, everybody believes every dungeon should be free. Should it be free? I'm not going to say yes or no on that. I don't know how much time it takes to actually develop a dungeon. And this is something that, you know, Datto talks about in his videos. Everything that they do in Bungie costs money. You know, the time to develop it, the resources to develop it, all of it costs money to do. And he talks a little bit more about cost later on in the video, and we'll get to that, you know, relatively, hopefully quickly. Hopefully this isn't going to be like a 30-minute long video. But the issue that I completely agree with is that Bungie, they made Prophecy free. And because they made Prophecy free, everybody thinks, oh, dungeons from this point on should be free. And of course, now we have the, you know, the whole dungeon pass, and players are frustrated because they don't get the dungeon for free and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. You know, and so I do have to, like, I have to agree with him on that. However, he also said if the dungeon pass didn't exist, he doesn't believe we would have got as many dungeons. And this, yeah, I gotta say, I think he's spot on this too. You know, dungeon passes, you know, before dungeon pass, we got one a year. We got one with our yearly expansion. We got Shattered Throne, you know, with Forsaken. Then the next year we got Pit of Heresy with Shadowkeep. Then let's see, we got, of course, Pit of Heresy, which was, or not Pit of Heresy, sorry, Prophecy, which was free, which is where like the issues started happening. However, the dungeon key, I do think, does fund the actual dungeon creation. You know, dungeon keys, as controversial as they are, and oh, we don't like dungeon keys, like it should be free, blah blah blah, or it should come with a season pass, blah blah, which it already does come with a season pass. But Bungie probably wouldn't have made as many dungeons. We wouldn't get 2 dungeons a year. We'd get 1 a year, and that would launch with, you know, the yearly expansion, right? So he points that out, and like I said, I kind of have to agree with that. But moving on to his next point here, he talks about getting value out of a season pass. And this was a big point that we had talked about in our video yesterday in regards to Astacross's video. Basically, Datto says if you look at the season pass, it costs $12. It costs $12. The value you get if you hit rank 100 is, I think he said somewhere around like $45, because you get, you know, an armor ornament set, you get exotics, you get, you know, an exotic ornament, you get some emotes, you get shaders, stuff like that. Like all this adds up to, I think his estimate was, like I said, about $45. So you are getting your money's worth if you're hitting rank 100 in the season pass, which, let's be honest here, if you're paying for the season pass, you're probably going to hit rank 100. Like, it's not hard to hit rank 100. If you're a new Destiny player and you're scared you're not going to hit rank 100, literally, I hit rank 100 in about week 2 or 3, you know, of the season. And of course, yeah, I play a lot more than the average player, but if I can hit it in rank 2 or in week 2 or 3, and I know there's people that can hit it in like literally the first week because they grind so much, I don't think it's an issue for you to hit rank 100 within the 3-month time span that is given to you. But he does have a point here. The season pass, even though it's $12 now, you do get your value out of it. Now, I think value is also in the eye of the beholder. Take, for example, you know, last season. Last season, I did not care much for the armor set for the Warlock, really, or the Titan. I mean, the Titan's mark was pretty cool, and the Titan, you can make some cool fashion, but seasons are hit or miss on the content, whether you like it or not. But that's a personal thing. You know, I may not have liked last season's, you know, armor set or whatever, and I love this season's universal ornaments, but, you know, maybe you're the opposite. Maybe you hate this season. You think the underwater theme, blah, 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 is ugly, but you liked last season. I don't know. It is in the eye of the beholder. And technically, I know Datto, he like appraised the value of it at like 45. I would say it's even more than that, because across 3 characters, you know, an armor set now in Destiny apparently costs $20 instead of just 15. But even if it is just 15, like the ornament sets alone cover the cost, you know, that $45, right? 3 characters, full armor sets, $45. That's excluding the other stuff, the emotes and stuff you get with it. So, you know, in terms of the value that you actually get, it's definitely there, you know, and that's something that I don't think can be argued with. Now, he does go on to say the overall, he talks about the overall price cost increase, and not so much the cost increase, because the cost increase, as we mentioned, I wouldn't say is the biggest deal, except for the fact that Bungie did not give us an opportunity to buy the exact amount of silver that we need to pay for the season pass. They gave us, you know, we can buy 1,100, we can buy 1,700. We cannot buy a 1,200 silver amount in here, right? And that is, I do have to agree, like that's wrong. We talked about that, like that's dirty. But I think Datto has a little bit of a different take on it, because even if you spend that $15, you know, for the season pass, you're still getting your money's worth if you go and you hit rank 100. And I mean, from a factual standpoint, I think he is right. You know, if you hit rank 100 and you only have 1 character, you've already covered the cost of the $15 you had to spend to get the $12 silver pass. And you have a little tiny bit of silver left over. Plus, that doesn't even include the bright dust that you get from the season pass as well, which the bright dust can be used to buy other currencies. Again, I will reiterate for us here, I have never been against the Eververse store as long as it remains cosmetic only. Okay, and I've been that way since Destiny 1's launch. I know there's a lot of, I guess, older Guardians that have been with Bungie since the early days of Halo, and I know that when it comes to age in gaming, there are, you know, and the thought of microtransactions, like there are the people that grew up without any kind of microtransactions, and they are like stuck to that. They're like, no, like these are wrong and bad. And there's the age of people who grew up with microtransactions, right? Where microtransactions have been in existence since they've been gaming, so they don't have an issue with it. I don't have an issue with the Eververse store so long as it remains cosmetic only. But we're going to talk a little bit more about Datto's thoughts on the cosmetic store as well. But from that point, you know, the whole $12 season pass, Datto goes on to make the point that he believes that Bungie consciously made the decision to make it $1,200 for one of two reasons, if I'm understanding him correctly here. The first reason is that, of course, they're trying to squeeze players for as much money as they can. And based on Bungie's history, that sounds like it's kind of the case, which really, really sucks for players. You know, Bungie said, hey, you know what, like we're going to increase it to $12, you know, increase by 20% basically, but we're also going to make it where you have to spend 50% more to actually obtain that, you know, that season pass, right? And so, you know, Datto says, hey, it's either Bungie trying to squeeze players for as much as they can, or the like flip side of it is Bungie set up that price so that they could, in the future, when they're under some incredible stress, go in and revert it or add the ability to spend $12 and say, hey, we've heard you, we've listened to you, here's what we're doing. And Bungie has been known to do this in the past. Okay, they have been known to change something. You know, the biggest one I can think of is sunsetting, right? They go in, they sunset everything we got. Then, what was it, 3 seasons later? Or was it like 2 seasons later? They're like, you know what? We're sorry. We've changed our mind. We are not going to sunset anymore because we listened to you. We heard you. Players had been saying they didn't like sunsetting before it even happened. They didn't like the idea of it. They didn't like the idea of having to basically regrind for everything that they worked for. But Bungie didn't listen to it then. It was only after the fact, when they were under some pressure, they looked like the good guys. And, you know, the content creators, which that was before my time as a content creator, but the content creators, of course, praised them, you know, like, oh, like, thank God y'all did this. Like, it's such a good thing, which we're going to have a video coming out talking about sunsetting later this week or next week. But Bungie has been known to do that. Like, they've been known to change things, to turn around in the future and say, hey, we're the heroes because we fixed the game, even though they're the ones that actually broke the game in the first place. I don't know which route it is. I think it's probably a little bit of both. They're trying to squeeze players for as much as they can right now. And then, of course, you know, enough people buy that $15 battle pass, or enough people get mad about it, you know, and boycott the game, blah, 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 blah. Then they'll go back and say, you know what, we've added a 1,200 silver option, you know, purchase option, blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, it's a wishy-washy thing. And I think Datto's on point with that. And that's why I wanted to bring that up, is because I really think that he's right when he says Bungie is doing one or two of those, or both of those routes right there. But the next thing that he talks about that I want to talk about was, he goes on to say that enough people buy cosmetics at their current price. And he's talking about, you know, the price, which I know that in our video yesterday, we talked about the prices being kind of atrocious. You know, again, as cool as the Eververse store is, and as fine with it as I am, because again, it's only ever been cosmetic. Bungie has stuck to their word that it's only ever been cosmetic. I do agree that the prices seem absolutely out of whack. However, Datto brings up that enough people buy the cosmetics at their current price, they're not going to change the price. You know, they have priced the things that they have done, you know, the $15 for armor, or the $7 for weapon ornaments, whatever. They have set it up that way because they have spent millions of dollars on research to find out what the best amounts of money to put into whatever, blah, 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 is to like get as much as they can out of it, right? And this includes, of course, you know, the time for creation. You know, you have to pay the people to design it, you have to pay the developers to design it, you have to pay the developers to add it to the game, blah, blah, blah. So for example, this season, the $20 price tag on these ornaments isn't something that just came out of thin air. Like, this is something that Bungie has carefully researched and looked into to price it exactly the way they do. And I didn't think about this the other day, but I mean, he's right. We know that big business corporations, you know, which Bungie is, have a tendency to do this. Like things are not just randomly priced because, hey, this sounds like a good price. Doesn't matter how many people say, oh, well, you know, like I would probably spend it if it instead of $20, it was $10, you know. But the thing is, like, you know, the amount of effort that they had to put into designing it, blah, 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 wouldn't really match the outcome, or vice versa. You know, well, you know, I wouldn't buy it, at $20, but I'd buy it at like 15. Like, yeah, maybe it would match, but they can sell it to enough players at $20. Doesn't matter if you'd pay 15 for it, right? But yeah, anyways, moving on from that, he talks about Astrocross's video and Astrocross' point of winning. And Astrocross in his video says, what is winning in Destiny 2? And Astrocross gives his opinion on what winning is. But Datto takes a step back and says, hey, what is winning in Destiny 2? And I do kind of agree with Datto on this, because Astrocross' video had a lot of fact, but also had a lot of opinion in there. And the opinionated side of it is, yeah, winning, winning is whatever, insert whatever. I don't remember how Astrocross described it, but winning is whatever the way Astrocross described it is. But that's not the same as you as a player. Like, to you, winning might just be, you know, hey, I get to have fun. Winning might be, hey, I get to, you know, I'm the most elite. I've got all the titles. Winning might be, hey, I've got every single cosmetic in the game. Winning might just be, hey, I've collected every exotic. Everybody has their own definition of what winning is. And through that definition of winning, Datto's idea of pay to win comes from the individual. And he's exactly right about this, because pay to win is not a collective, like, objective term that, you know, can describe everything and anything in Destiny 2. Like, pay to win is a term that can only describe what players are willing to say it describes. For example, you know, I wouldn't say it's pay to win to buy a yearly expansion. You know, oh, I bought a yearly expansion, you know, I got what are those boots for the Titan? Abient Leap. I got those. Oh, well, that's pay to win. Okay, maybe to some, not to me. You know, whenever new content comes out, wow, that was a terrible play right there. When new content comes out, though, like, it's expected that you're gonna have to pay for it. Like, free-to-play players do not just get everything handed to them in the game. Like, it would be pointless to have a free-to-play or a paid game if you get everything for free. But to some people, oh, well, it's pay to win because, you know, now the best gun in the game or whatever you can only get if you have this DLC. To me, it makes sense, but to some, it might not make sense. It might be considered pay to win. And Datto brings that up. He says, your personal definition of winning is what will determine your view on the whole debate of pay to win. But yeah, buying yearly expansion, I don't think is pay to win. You might disagree, though. He goes on, he talks a little bit more about that, but then he moves into I guess, kind of the season pass situation. You know, and he talks about his video that he made back way in the day, like 7 or 8 years ago, whatever, that Astrocross used, you know, as reference. And Datto says that whenever he made that video, he wasn't thinking like, oh, you know, about all the things that have could potentially happen in the future. He was talking about more of a direct way of buying certain currencies, right? You know, if you could buy legendary shards, like, you know, hey, you spend $5, you get a pack of legendary shards, you know, 500 legendary shards, you know, $10 gets you 1,500 legendary shards. That's what he was talking about. And he brings that up in the video that's what he was talking about. But when it comes to, when it comes to the whole, I guess, season pass like aspect of it, let me change this over. There we go. When it comes to the whole season pass thing, he brings up that XP gains is one of the things that people are most worried about, because, you know, at the start of a season, you can now buy all the season pass levels. You can spend $100 and literally get your season pass to rank whatever. And while it doesn't level up your artifact, it does give you access to, I think, what, a 32% XP boost at like once you hit max rank, which can help you then move forward, leveling up quicker. You know, then you get your artifact power higher, which puts you at an advantage to other people, blah, blah, blah. But he brought up a really good point. Level caps in Destiny 2, in PvE stuff, level caps have really put a stop to any argument in regards to that train of thought. You know, that pay to win, oh, well, you know, it's pay to win to buy the season pass. You know, you can spend $100, get ranked up, get 30% more experience, then you can level up faster. Grandmasters, number one, Grandmasters don't even hit till much later on in the season usually, but number two, you're capped at 18-15. You know, so players who come in at a fresh start even, you know, and play, they can hit the pinnacle cap within like a week or 2 weeks, depending on how much they can play, or 3 weeks, you know, then they can rank up their artifact. But like, it's like you're capped at 18-15. What good does having that extra whatever percent, you know, 32% do for players when it comes to, you know, when there's just so many level caps on things? And he brought up the idea of, you know, the world's first raid race and stuff like that. And, you know, oh, well, you know, people could make the argument of, you know, in the world's first raid, you know, this could be, there's a weapon in the season pass that could be broken. And I think he brought up the harmonic, or not the harmonic, the deep sight resonance or whatever they're called, you know, and said there could be a weapon that's incredibly broken and, you know, a person can craft it and get the god roll. He's right in his response, which is if there's a weapon that's broken to that degree, it's probably going to get disabled. We've seen it time and time again. I think, what was it? Leviathan's Breath was disabled for a world's first raid. I don't know if it was Root of Nightmares or a world's first dungeon, something like that. Leviathan's Breath has been disabled. So many weapons have been disabled. If there's a weapon that is literally to the degree that it is so powerful and the crafted version is so powerful that it outshines everything else, it's probably going to get disabled. That's true. That's a fact. I mean, you can't argue with it. But yeah, the level caps, they null out a lot of that stuff. And also he says, you know, in a world's first race, you know, oh, well, somebody bought 100 levels of the season pass, you know, and now they get 30% more XP. So, you know, for that 2 weeks before the raid launches, they got to grind up and get their level as high as possible. Number one, level cap is, again, still a thing in the world's first raid race. But also, if somebody does that, are they really going to beat out the world first raid racers? Like the people that have been doing this for years, that know like how to identify mechanics and stuff like that. And his answer is probably not. And I kind of agree with that. Now, the last part of the video is kind of where he and I split on our opinions on things. Okay. So he says, you know, does Bungie only care about Marathon? He said, no. He said, basically, Bungie has to care about Destiny 2 because right now Marathon is in development or whatever you want to call it. They need Destiny to basically, you know, continue to exist, because if it dies, their funding is gone, because Destiny is currently the only thing that funds Bungie, which Sony's also there too. And I don't think he brings that up in this segment of the video, or in his video, sorry. But I disagree with this. Bungie can absolutely, they have to care for it. That does not mean that they have to put love and effort into it. And again, we've seen this through the use of so many reskins, revamps, reissued, reimagined, blah, 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 all those words. We did a video on it weeks ago talking about all that stuff. Bungie doesn't have to put love and affection into it. They have to care for it. They have to basically feed it. They have to water it. They have to give it shelter, and that's it. They don't have to give it hugs. They don't have to give it kisses. They don't have to read it bedtime stories and stuff like that. And Datto says that, you know, they can't, you know, he goes to the extreme, says they can't just not care about it. And he's right. They can't just not care about it. But where he fails to, you know, analyze that, the whole situation is they have to care about it, but they don't have to love it. They don't have to show it affection. They can easily put resources that should be put in Destiny 2 into other things. And as long as they're, you know, hey, here's new season, here's new weapons, here's some new ornaments, new emotes, blah, blah, blah. It's good. And players, will pay for it. You call them payers, but players will pay for it if they do that. And you know, he's right a little bit, but you know, his idea is, you know, oh, well, Bungie doesn't care about Destiny 2. That's what it feels like, because to us, you know, to the normal person, caring about something means that you show it love and affection. You know, my kid, I care about my kid. I feed him. I make sure he has clean clothes. I give him hugs. I play with him, stuff like that. Datto's idea of care is much more callous, I would say. You know, give it food, give it water, give it shelter, and that's it. And that's what Bungie's doing for Destiny 2. They're giving it food, water, and shelter, but they're not giving it anything else that it needs to thrive like it used to. But yeah. And then he talks briefly about PvP, which we are big on PvP on this channel. We talk about everything, but we do like to talk about PvP. He says that the investment in PvP does not equal return in the money, and he's right. That's why Destiny 2's PvP is in such a very poor state, is because PvP in Destiny 2 is currently a free-to-play aspect of the game. Why would they sink time and money and resources into PvP when it's not making them more money? You know, so they don't do it, which, you know, that sucks. I don't know where else to go with that. But the final thing that he says, the wrap up that he does here is, as long as Destiny is profitable, it's sticking around. He's right. As long as it's profitable, it will hang out and hang around. But how long will it be profitable for once Marathon comes out? I don't know. Once Final Shape ends, once they slowly diet down, once Marathon comes out, if Marathon starts making them bukus of money, I think that Destiny 2 will slowly be phased out. You know, and that sucks, but that is kind of how the world works and stuff like that. But yeah, I said we weren't doing a 30-minute video, so we're not going to do a 30-minute. We're at 26 minutes. That's going to basically wrap up my thoughts on Datto's videos. I mean, he had a lot of good points, you know, that's as harsh as they are truthful. But I also think that he did miss some areas, or maybe he didn't miss them. I should say he didn't fully go into the details behind it. But yeah, that's it for this video though. If you liked it, of course, drop a like. Let me know your thoughts on it. Let me know your thoughts on my thoughts, on Datto's thoughts, on Astrocross's video. Wow, lots of reviewception there. But anyways, yeah, that's it for me. Like the video, sub for more daily Destiny content. I'll see y'all in the next one, and watch the video you see on screen now. Bye for now.